In the YV fight cinematic, Mary expresses her grievances and desires through a song named Ego. She implores Jamie to put her at ease and come home. Both animations are well connected and complement each other because the questions raised by one are answered by the other. After neutralizing the Atlas threat on Paris, Phoenix finally requests leave to visit his family, which is indeed long overdue. Shortly after patch 11.11, the Come Home visual shot was released. The radio event featured in this visual shot was teased even before the release of the YV Fight cinematic. The first teaser of this event that I could find goes all the way back to the Initiate V25 trailer. A few posters for this event can be seen next to Phoenix as he walks by them. The cinematic begins from the venue of this radio event. We see a child with blue nails, blue highlights, and stars on their backpack. Kids donning accessories that are signature to Mary, posters advertising her new release. These are telltale signs of Mary being a celebrity. Mary was also requested to perform at the First Light Expo in Paris before this. I can't help but notice how the Adeyemi siblings have jobs that are completely at odds with one another. Mary is a super famous artist, whereas Jamie has to maintain complete anonymity. The Come Home title text that hovers over the passing train is kinda cute because Jamie is in that train, and this marks his arrival. Mary talks about how Jamie was everything to her, that she adored him, how he was legendary in her eyes. Jamie is tuned into the event, of course, so this probably hurts a lot, which would explain why he looks kinda gloomy. He probably feels guilty about how things ended up the way they are now. As the interviewer goes deeper into their past, Jamie stops to look at a damaged building. And as he starts to reminisce, we hear Mary say, "First light happened." And as she does, the building transitions from its abandoned and burned state to a functional one. And this is so cool because, yes, that's exactly the point. What happened to the building? First light happened. First light, although indirectly, is responsible for its current state. We see these floating pillars of light again. We have seen these in other low-related media associated with First Light. I think it's safe to say that these pillars of light are pure radiant energy. Whenever Mary tries to talk to Phoenix about the incident, he shuts down. Mary is desperate to understand her brother and what he went through because of it. The suffocation and lack of closure she feels regarding the situation is why Mary created her latest work of art, Ego. When you think about it, it makes sense why Jamie doesn't visit home. Meeting his family back home means that he would have to confront his dreadful past and trauma again. The iron bars in front of Jamie represent restriction or his inability to change his past. There is nothing he can do but watch a younger version of himself repeat the same mistakes. Little Jamie doesn't have that restriction, of course. Jamie looks up at this phenomenon in the sky with an expression that I think represents sorrow and regret. This is in direct contrast with his expression as a child. His raised eyebrows betray a sense of dangerous curiosity and wonder. Jamie has somehow climbed on top of the building, but that isn't really surprising. In the YV Fight cinematic, the siblings can be seen at the roof of a building, which probably means that they aren't scared of heights and often hang out on rooftops. Now, in the past, when Omen tried to assassinate Viper, she was able to shove him in a chamber and blast him with a huge amount of radiant energy. Even though this isn't explicitly confirmed, the common factor in both these situations has to be radiant energy exposure. Jamie and Omen are two of the only known instances of non-radiants becoming radiants. As Jamie touches the light, the red waves flow through him, which is something similar to what we have seen happening to Sage when she uses her powers. If Sage heals people by transferring radiant energy, then this must be a similar flow of energy channeling into Jamie. Jamie's frame goes through some kind of aberration and distortion. He splits into a reddish orange, blue, and green. Red, blue, and green are the three primary colors. That's not a relevant detail, I don't think, but the same colors are consistently used in the next few frames. If I had to guess, red represents Alpha Jamie and green represents Omega Jamie. The opposite may also be true. An observation relevant to this scenario is that every radiant in Alpha Earth has a counterpart present in Omega Earth, and we have not seen an exception to this. With First Light also came the mirror dimension. Even though certain events might not occur at the exact same time, they eventually happen in both dimensions. Omega Harbor joined the Valorant Legion before Alpha Harbor joined the Valorant Protocol. Omega Chamber was in a relationship with Omega Viper, which wasn't the case in Alpha up until recently. Nevertheless, most events eventually sync up. So maybe this visual represents Alpha Jamie getting his powers at the same time as his Omega counterpart. Well, we accounted for the red and green, but what of the blue? In the same scene, we see a blue background and a black hole. Doesn't it look like an eye? If we assume that the black hole is a pupil, it does fit. Maybe the blue and black represents an eye or a collected consciousness of Jamie witnessing this metamorphosis of himself. The panic is clearly visible in his eyes. He expected to get powers, I'm sure, but maybe he's shocked because the fire in his hands doesn't hurt him. Maybe he thought he would be able to control them. The Die For You cinematic also gives us some insight into his current situation. The way I interpreted the central theme of the cinematic is related to bearing a cost too great or a lack of control. Brimstone is literally encumbered by his responsibilities and Sage is trapped or incarcerated by the cost of her powers. So what happens to Phoenix? Well, he gets a ball. I think the ball represents the power that he obtained. He feels exhilarated and excited to use his powers. But he doesn't anticipate that his powers would literally swallow him whole, and he finally realizes that he cannot control them. The scene that follows is all too familiar. This incident is shown in Jamie's lore card called the Firestarter. The Why We Fight cinematic also gives us a beautiful portrayal of this tragic event. Jamie's lack of control over his powers brings up interesting questions. How does one master their powers? Did Jet injure herself after flying too high? And the voice line about Sky summoning a dragon. Maybe she did that when she was much younger too. There are a few characters mentioned in the lore that struggle with their powers. Therefore, this line of thought will eventually lead you to Lucia, Reina's younger sister. Since Reina and Lucia are siblings, they possess similar powers, gaining strength and sustenance by absorbing life essence. Some people speculate that Lucia's radiance weakens her because her powers are much stronger than Reina. That is to say that Lucia requires a heavier intake of life essence. Or maybe Lucia just doesn't know how to control her powers yet. There are other factors that play into her situation, like her young age and her inability to kill people to sustain herself, like Reina does, but that is for another video. Now to address the elephant in the room. Jamie was not a Radiant. A very simple question that one can ask is, why did he do it? He didn't know that doing what he did would give him powers. In hindsight, he could have ended up like Lucia, cursed by her own radiance, or like Neon, someone unable to function properly without some kind of a limiter attached to her for most of the time she's out. Radiance is not always the boon that it seems to be. What Jamie did was downright suicidal, even if we account for the fact that Jamie was a child. Even if knowledge about Radiance was sparse at the time, this was a really stupid thing to do. In my previous video, I talked about how Jamie's character flaw is ambition. This is established through Fate's dossier as well. But the impetus for his decision doesn't have to be selfishness or ambition. Jamie was just a baby at this point. It could just have been curiosity or childlike wonder. After seeing what Radiants are, maybe he thought that he could become a superhero. something similar to the books or comics he must have read as a child, and maybe that is why he sought out powers. We can confirm this from the fact that saving the world was a dream of his, and he does love his job. Phoenix wears V-shaped earrings after all. Maybe he held on to this dream since he was a child, something that formed one of his main motivations for seeking power and help people in his own way. We see this mysterious fellow again. They are also present in the Why We Fight cinematic. They are probably some kind of an investigator spying on Jamie. Them already being present on the scene is weird though. Maybe they were following Jamie, or they knew that Jamie would seek radiance and wanted to monitor him. How they would get about doing something like that, I don't know. Firefighters performing damage control, university staff making phone calls, and an origami bird. Dare I say, this is the same bird that keeps Mary company while she performs. The withered appearance on this origami bird is likely due to burn damage. The glow emitting from Jamie's hands falls onto the left side of Mary's face, which might mean that Jamie probably tried to approach Mary in his panic and accidentally hurt her. In another scene, Mary's face fades into Jamie's hand as he loosens his fiery grip from the bar, leaving smolders and burn marks behind. So there are two different instances where it's implied that Jamie is responsible for Mary's burn scar. Adult Mary phases in as the glow is replaced by her scar. Did you know that Jamie has an in-game ability named Hot Hands? Yes, that's a real thing. The Valorant devs have a very messed up sense of humor. If I'm not mistaken, Mary has styled her scar. We have other headshots of Mary that show that this is not the natural pattern of her burn scar. And this is really cool because details like these add so much personality to the characters. She wasn't ashamed or encumbered by her flaw, quote unquote. She is an artist, so she uses her scar as an accessory. She incorporates it into her aesthetic. We are used to seeing her handle difficult circumstances time and time again. She doesn't let her sorrows and loneliness change her for the worse. She succeeds in accomplishing her childhood dreams. She forced her way through all obstacles, like an optimistic bulldozer. Mary's latest release, Ego, is about retaining your individuality through pain, vulnerability, and loneliness. It's not about overcoming or suppressing your emotions, because what we feel is real and relevant. It's about growth in spite of them. Mary is written to be such a powerful character. The fashion scar looks like a wing. A wing may represent freedom or liberty, or maybe it is connected to the origami bird that she keeps with her after all these years. Either of those apply, to be honest. We learn about the aftermath of First Light. Emergency crews trying to manage the situation, curfews implemented to preserve control. There was a lot of stigma and fear associated with Radiants, some considered monsters walking amongst the masses. This stigma probably hasn't gone away because of the incidents that happen. An unfortunate example of this is Jet. She is considered a Radiant terrorist on Alpha Earth because of the Venice incident. Of course, it was Omega Jet who actually did it, but Alpha Jet is the one that suffers the consequences. There are more instances of Radiants taking up combat-specific professions. Fade and ISO were assassins and bounty hunters before they joined the protocol, both of them Radiants. Fun fact, Fade was a bounty hunter even before she became a Radiant, but her powers did help her a bit after that. Because of all this, we know that Radiants are also a part of the criminal world, and since they are basically enhanced superhumans, they are very scary indeed. If we consider the stigma around Radiants combined with the fact that Jamie is a person of color, his life was probably really hard as a child. Not only does he have to deal with the trauma related to the incident, he also has to deal with societal prejudice at large. And right as Mary talks about this stigma, a vehicle with red and blue lights passes by, which is likely a police vehicle, which is a great detail. It can also be an ambulance, but the police car interpretation fits the scenario much better, so don't mind if I do. What makes this even worse is Mary probably thought of all of this. She hates the fact that he was probably out there on his own, completely alone, and there is nothing she can do about it. Previously, I mentioned how this scene might be an implication of Jamie hurting Mary. But maybe he burned the railing because he was reliving sour memories and got emotional and absent minded. Jamie now has fine grained control over his powers, yet he let go for a bit. I wonder if a Radiant's emotional state has something to do with their ability to control their powers. Looks like Mary is being careful with what she reveals about Jamie. There is an implication that Jamie was put in an institution for Radiants and a special category at that, and he didn't return for a while. Maybe because his powers were really potent or unique in some way. Or maybe he became involved with Kingdom or Valorant. I mentioned Kingdom because in the Why We Fight cinematic, we can see a giant Kingdom sign looming over him. So there is an implication that Kingdom is somehow involved in his story. If his story is anything like Jet or Gecko, he might have had a conflict with Kingdom or another organization and was later rescued by the protocol. He could also have joined one of these organizations willingly. He is ambitious after all. Wait a minute. Can Jamie breathe fire? Doesn't this frame imply that he can breathe fire? Like he's breathing into his hands, right? Like, how does that even work? This shot is the third confirmation that we've received about the cause of Mary's scar. These transitions are really good, by the way. Mary also talks about how the world just moved on after the discovery of Radianite. Maybe after Radianite was discovered, people kind of understood what it was and became less hostile towards Radiants. Another train of thought goes towards the added benefits of Radianite-like energy and new technology. When people realized that Radianite was profitable, people were probably quick to forget their qualms about how problematic it was in the first place. Or what she really means is that the world moved on while she did not get to. She lost a member of her family, not knowing where he was, when he would come back, and what was happening to him. But they finally reunite again, so the endings are indeed happy. I've always been confused as to why Mary has a different accent from Jamie. Shouldn't Mary and Jamie have the same accent if they grew up together? One direction we can go in is that Mary and Jamie's moms had them individually and then got together. But this family picture in the middle suggests that they got together when Mary was still a baby, so that doesn't make sense. We know that she visited Lagos just as Jamie calls her after all those years. So maybe she spent a lot of time in Nigeria as a kid and she picked up the accent from there. But didn't she go to school in Peckham though? Another guess that we can make is after the disappearance of Jamie, Mary preferred to be homeschooled, and it's because of that her accent is a mix of both of her mothers. We see a metronome next to the pictures. We are also presented with a picture of Mary playing the piano, and her mom seems to be teaching her. Maybe the passion for music runs in the family. Mary looks happy in all of these pictures with her family, but if we look at other pictures of Mary as she grows up, she doesn't smile very often, probably because of Jamie's absence. Jamie looks kind of gloomy when he arrives home, but is surprised or taken aback by the festive decorations. It brightens his mood up. It's so cute. Phoenix promises that he won't hold any secrets from his family anymore, or at least with Mary. It will be interesting to see if Jamie fulfills this promise in the future. But for that to happen, we will have to hope for Mary's involvement in the story later on. Through a voicemail Veto sent to Brimstone a while back, it is revealed that Mary now knows more than she should about the protocol. So this is my one hope that Mary will somehow return to the story in the future. As Jamie says that he is right outside, the entire house just shouts in excitement, which is really fun. Jamie is using a Kingdom phone. This is probably not his work phone. Can't believe Valorant agents using Kingdom tech to communicate because Kingdom is probably surveilling their devices for all we know. Maybe this is his civilian phone. I know that Jamie is fighting his own demons, and we talked about why he is in a bad spot emotionally and everything, but when you see these happy faces and how excited they are to see him again, it kinda makes me angry at this Phoenix guy. Just call them once or twice. It can't be all that hard, right? Could have called them. So I suppose this is the end of his character arc. I love what they've done with him. His circumstances are really interesting. He takes pride in what he does and is good at it, but him achieving his dreams came at the cost of others. He is very confident and nonchalant, yet he doubts himself and regrets his actions. He wants to be with his loved ones, but his job constantly puts his life in danger. This is especially true now that Sage is growing weaker. Through the Why We Fight and Come Home animations, the narrative team does such a solid job by pulling Phoenix in every possible direction. This internal conflict of his is fascinating to think about. This is the end of the video. Smash subscribe on the like button and like through the link in the description. If you've watched so far, it really means a lot. Thank you so much.